Okay, it's just about to turn 11 o'clock on this Wednesday morning, and we all set for our next IBASA and EPI webinar. This time we're talking productivity and how we as entrepreneurs ourselves, as people that need to be in charge of our own activities and getting the results that we want, how we can use certain tools to make that possible for us. But of course also how we can apply that with our own clients and how we can help them to get better at what they do. So it's kind of a two benefits for us today in one. We've got Gerrit Cloete of Productivity Pitstop as our guest, and some of our normal customers like Lesego Mokwena, the senior administrator at IBASA, and Karel Venter from the EPI in the room. My name is Christoph Oosthuizen and I'm the host. I'm also from the EPI, and we work very closely with IBASA in hosting these webinars, which has kind of become a monthly event, which we're happy to report that we're getting fairly good feedback from both IBASA members and other business advisors that are in the field. So welcome everyone. I see we've got a good number of people, just over 20 at the moment, and increasing. Alec, Anthony, Daphne, Daryl, Eunice, Fred, Gloria. Guys, welcome here, Max, Tabisa. Hi, Tabisa. Terence, nice to see you here. Perhaps as we start out, if I may ask, that you click on the chat button. If you're on a mobile device, you may have to just touch the screen for it to appear. But open the chat and just introduce yourself in terms of the area or field of specialization that you have, so that others that are on the webinar can also see what specialities or what specific professional capacity people that are here have, and perhaps there is something to network around and share. So please use the chat, by the way, to do connect with others too. It belongs to us, that chat area, as participants, so you can connect with others there too. So let me just switch off the screen share while I still have on, so that we can introduce the people in the room. Let me start off with Gerrit and Lesego specifically. Karel, if you want to, you can just switch your camera on that we can see you when you talk. Others can't see you yet because you're not talking yet. But if I can introduce Gerrit at first. Gerrit is from Productivity Pitstop. Hi, Gerrit. You are still muted, Gerrit. Remember to
I just unmuted myself. Yeah. Hi.
welcome to the webinar.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to hear from you. Productivity Pitstop sounds like a promising name for a company to help us. And I know that you've got a very interesting map that you also prepared to share with us at the end. So stick around till the end of the webinar and you can get a download that Gerrit will provide us. That's really useful. I've had a look at it and it's really powerful. So looking forward to hear about that. But before we get into the topic of today, it may be good just to remind us about what's happening at IBASA. So Lesego, if I can bring you in. Most of us know pretty well by now.
Yes, definitely. I want to welcome everyone who's joining us on this very exciting webinar. I'm excited to be here. And most importantly, I'm excited to tell everyone that IBASA has recently been invited by the Small Enterprise Development Agency to have our CEO present as to the importance of business advising and grading. So in terms of stakeholder engagement in the right platforms, IBASA is going out of its way to advocate for us as members, as well as the business advising space. So look out for it. We are definitely making headways with the right people. Most exciting development that we are also talking about is the International Conference on Business Advising. We are excited, we're co-partnering, and most importantly, we're bringing an international platform for all our members to benefit and participate. There is a wonderful fee for our members. Do look out on our website for the updated fee, just unique to members. So we know that everybody at the conference in November will be speaking about business advising, and that is the right platform to have policy discussions, have workshops, exchange good ideas so that we can make business advising stronger in South Africa, not only for our benefit, but for the global benefit. So from our side, we have very, very good news as well. We continue our partnership with the Services SETA, whereby IBASA is engaging with the Services SETA on a number of projects. One of the projects that we continue to engage on is the assessor and moderator training. So do drop us an email if you're interested in finding out more about the assessor and moderator training that has been availed to members as well. So over to you, Chris. I believe that's enough exciting news from IBASA, and we look forward to everyone.
Yes, I know, because I speak to you fairly often, Lesego, that you guys are hard at work to get all the systems going well for IBASA members to get most benefit. So I know that as one starts out, of course, as most of us know, working with small businesses, that when people start out and you build something from new, it's not always smooth sailing. So appreciation for all the effort that's been made there to sort out those things, and for adding value, like, sort of if one takes, for example, the relationship with the Services SETA and the benefit that people can get through training like that, for instance. So I'm also aware, because I've put up my hand as one that wants to get that training, but I'm aware that there's a minimum number for the training to happen. So if anyone is still, if I can just accentuate that, if anyone is still interested in that moderator assessor training that the Services SETA sponsors, we need a minimum, I think it was 25 or something like that per area, and then that will be a free event for all of us. So I know in the Western Cape we're only 6 at the moment, so we need kind of 19 more to show up. One session has happened in Gauteng where there were enough people that showed up. So please, those that are interested, perhaps you can even just type in the chat area that you're interested, and we can follow up with that. Otherwise, you can make contact with the office to do so, I'm sure. Would that be okay?
That would be absolutely appreciated. On our side as IBASA, we are going out of our way for our members to be recognized nationally for their importance. The relationship we're building with the Services SETA is the exact platform that we want our members to participate in. So we are looking forward to IBASA members coming on board, availing themselves to be trained. We believe it will benefit you in the long run, not only personally, but from a business perspective, as well as provide you with information that you can also empower your partners or your clients or people that you are about to make connections with for business. So definitely come on board as soon as possible. It's on a first come, first serve basis. So come on board. We want you there.
Cool. So let's see, maybe there's in the chat some interest, otherwise make contact with the office. Let me just ask this question. How many of us on the call here today are in fact IBASA members? So yeah, I think you have to click on the poll. No, it shows up in the screen, in the middle of the screen. So those that are IBASA members, please say so. Yes, I am. It's increasing quite radically. 82% are members in good standing of people on the call today. And there's 1 or 2 that are expired and a few that are considering to join. So those that are considering to join, I've got good news for you. So by the way, 72%, as we stand now, 72% are already IBASA members, which is good because we are looking at how the industry is being professionalized, and membership of a professional association is a key element in that. So most of us are already on track there. The few that, the 10 or so on the call, maybe a bit more, that about 20% that are not members, I would urge you to please do so urgently. So in fact, what I can say is that, if I can find the right place to go, got too many screens open here. I'll end the poll. Then I can do a screen share for us to just get the address there of the membership. If you want to become a member, this is where you need to go. IBASA member gerrit.the-epi.org is a web address that will take you to a link that will send your information to the IBASA office for follow-up. So if you're not a member yet, please go to that address, fill out the form quickly, and there will be some follow-up with you to make sure that you can also benefit from membership. So that having said that, Lesego, any last comments there from your side before I pass over to Gerrit?
On my side, I'm excited for today's webinar. Productivity is such a huge factor in SMMEs. So I am ready to go. Over to you, Gerrit.
Yeah, thanks, Lesego. So without further ado, I just want to say Carl is in the room. He's monitoring the chat and the questions. So as Gerrit proceeds, we will first allow Gerrit to present to us a key idea around how to get better results by making sure that we stay productive, and a system that you can use, an easy to use map. And as questions arise, please submit those questions through the Q&A frame rather than the chat. It will disappear in the chat. So better to click there on the Q&A button and submit your question. You can submit the question as we go along. Okay, by the way, we did ask in an email that we sent out if there are any volunteers that would like to benefit from a case, being the case study, so that Gerrit, towards the end of the webinar, can take you through how you can apply that to yourselves. We didn't get any. I think people may be a bit intimidated by that, but perhaps there is someone on the webinar today that feels brave. Towards the end of the webinar, we may ask that if you want to put up your hand, we can actually bring you into the webinar room, and we can see your video and hear your voice if you have those facilities available. And it is an opportunity for you to maybe reflect on the methods that you are using and your practice in being productive. So keep that in mind too. So Gerrit, I know we've got some screen sharing to do and so on. So
do you want to run a little poll, Christoph, before we start?
Yeah, let's do that. Thanks for reminding me. So what is the poll about, Gerrit?
Unmute myself there. About the tools that people use, to organize themselves and to help them manage themselves rather.
Yeah. So there's so by the way, you may select more than one item here. So which of these are you using? Paper-based to-do lists, a paper book, a diary or calendar that you use yourself. So you can click more than one. This is not a multiple choice, as in you can only select one. To-do lists on your laptop or PC, to-do lists as an app on your mobile device, a calendar on your laptop or PC, a calendar on your mobile device, Microsoft Outlook, any of Gmail, your home mail or Windows Live mail, a team task management tool like Trello, something where tasks are allocated and shared amongst team members, or perhaps a project management tool that's much more sophisticated in assigning and keeping track of what is happening in your life. People are still voting there. It's interesting to see. So if you can finish off the voting, then there's some interesting. You can see that there's still a lot of people doing paper-based to-do lists, which I kind of did not expect. I'm not sure. And the paper diary, a diary book. I'm going to end the poll now. So please, if you still want to do your last bit there, just quiet it down so we can end the poll. There you are, 54%. Let's see, maybe I haven't done this before, but I'm sure we can do this. Let me do a screen share if I can find. This is going to look awful, but let me first do that. I want to show you guys what we have here. I'm going to put it here on the side before I share it with you. Sorry for that. It's not going to look that great, but you can then see what we're talking about. So there are paper-based, still the dominant form of managing a to-do list, as well as 54%, as well as, and now you can't see what I've put up there, so that doesn't really help. Sorry guys, I wanted to show you the results, but it looks like that's not going to be possible now. So let me just share quickly with you the results. 54% say that they are still using paper-based to-do lists. Sorry, I shouldn't say still, because still is kind of a judgmental way of saying it. It's a very powerful way of managing your to-do lists, your tasks, is with a paper-based system. 54%. 46% keep a calendar as a book calendar. 38% are using to-do list on their laptop, and another 41% are on the mobile device. Maybe they combine the two, that you can use both. Calendars too, about half are on laptop, PC, and mobile device. 27% use Microsoft Outlook, and 27% one of the other Gmail clients. And then only 8% use a task management tool for Teams like Trello, and another 8% project management tools like Basecamp. Okay. Oh, yeah, there you saw it all the time. I thought you couldn't see it. So in any case, I'm getting to learn about using Zoom properly too. So Gerrit, are you surprised by any of those results?
I'm so glad that you self-corrected in terms of using the word still, because sometimes people say, you know, and they say, well, I still use a paper-based calendar, but the question is, that's not wrong. Question is, does it work for you? If it works for you, that's fine. That's what you should be using. But no, I'm actually not too surprised. Not a confession really, but what I find nowadays that works really well for me is, again, to go back to a piece of paper and have like a paper-based to-do list, especially over weekends. I find it more visible. If you're stuck away in your computer, you can't really see it. So no, I'm not surprised about the high percentage on the paper.
Yeah, good. I'm kind of a guy that likes the tech, and you know.
Nothing wrong with that either.
Playing around on the app. But can you show us, the map that you talk about and the system that you, so maybe just as a way of introduction, can you start off by just telling us what kind of work you are doing in the space of helping people to be more productive, and then lead us into what you want to present to us today?
Okay, maybe I will respond best to that. If you can, just begin sharing the screen. I think the second slide will be a nice one to use. Okay, if you can just proceed one. And by the way, for everybody, Christoph and I are working together on this. He moves the slides forward and I do the talking. So you may hear me ask him to move the slides on. Okay, Christoph, you go to the next one. The work that I'm doing is to help people close the gap between how they want things to be and how things are. You know, what excites me and what gets me out of bed in the morning, if I can use that phrase, is not, yeah, I'm going to do another workshop or I'm going to do more productivity coaching. But I know that people at the workshop, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later on maybe, if anybody at the workshop, if they're going to apply 10% of what they get during the course of our being together, the quality of their life improves. And as you can see on the next slide, we then take from a sad face to a smiley face. The quality of life improves. And that's what my work is all about. I think productivity, my definition of productivity is nothing strange, is to get more of the right things done with as little effort as possible. You get so many productivity definitions that say do more in less time. There's nothing wrong with that either. But why be busy with the wrong things? It takes some time up front to clarify what your life is all about, what your work is all about, and then to make sure that you do those things. I've got a very nice little book. It's called The Art of Living. You may want to look it up. Unfortunately, I don't have it available right now, but it's that old Stoic philosopher Epictetus, E-P-I-C, and I think it's T-E-T-U-S, Epictetus. And he said, first of all, what you have to do is tell yourself or decide who you want to be, and then do what you have to do. So first decide what you want to be, and then you do what you have to do. Often we just fall into doing. So the purpose of the work that I do is really captured in this slide, I think, to provide people with some productivity tools that will help them to move away from where they are to a new place, what's possible. Christoph, shall I just continue?
Yes, you may, Gerrit. It's right. You're setting us on a track here, so we're anticipating something huge.
Okay, well, let's deliver something huge then. Just a framework, and there's nothing new about what we do. You know, there's nothing in the world really that is brand new. But in the slide, you see on the right-hand side, the prepare phase, where you prepare to do your work. And we've distilled over the years a couple of work habits. I'm not going to go through them in detail today, but work habit 1 is to have a productive mindset. You know, get rid of things like I don't have the time, or I have to do this, or I cannot delegate. Number 2, clarify. That's what we're going to focus on today. Number 3, align your actions with your priorities. Number 4, slow down to speed up. Now you're ready to work. Now the execution phase starts. But the very important thing is to focus. Work habits 5, adapt to changes. I mean, when last did a day work out exactly the way you planned it? Number 7, finish what you start. And number 8 is learn and improve so that tomorrow can be a better day. So what I'd like us to focus on today is work habit 2, clarify, or the theme is clarity. And the tool that we use for that is the map for action. So if you can just, the people who apply what they get, save about 40 minutes a day. I don't know anybody in the market for a saving of 40 minutes a day. And also, they are more in control of things. They're not into victim mode. They have less stress. And they can see very clearly you know, what they need to do, what the actions are, what their projects are. They get more of the right things done. And they can improve their life balance if they want to. And there's a return on the investment that either you as an individual or your clients or your companies have already made in technology. Specifically, we work with Microsoft Outlook, but we can also work with others. Now, work habit 1 is about thinking productive, and the theme for today is to map your actions. So I don't know if there's anybody in the room that's a golfer, but maybe you know a golfer who has hit a hole-in-one. And at our workshops, I asked the question, for how long will you remember that? And guess what the answer is? Forever. So then I asked them, how long did the ball take to travel from the moment you hit it until it fell into the cup? And people say, I don't know, maybe 5, 6, or 7 seconds. Now, the fact that they'll remember this event forever does not depend on how long it took the event to actually occur. You know, if the ball traveled 10 seconds, it won't double the value of the impact, or for 4 seconds. So time is not really important. So on the next slide, it's not how long something takes that matters most, but what you choose to do. It's not how long is this meeting going to be, or this webinar, but is this the best thing for you to be doing right now in this moment? Is this the most effective, the most productive thing that you can do? And of course, you know, it's not how long am I going to spend in email, but is doing email the thing I should do now? Everybody's got 24 hours. That's not news, but what do we choose to do with them? So just a little bit of a mindset switch from time management to action management. You know, you can't manage time. If I were now to ask you to, and don't do this, it's not necessary, but to define time in the chat, we'll get 54 different definitions of time. I can almost guarantee you that. So how can you manage something that you can't properly define? Action management is easier. And that's why I'm going to share with you the system today that will help you to get actions out, identify actions from your inbox or from your notes or from voicemails or from, you know, whatever you get, and to manage your actions in a way that they can actually be easily executed. Good. I like this phrase, make your work, in other words, your actions, visible and actionable. If you can't see something, you can't act on it. Now, would you agree, if you just go to the next slide, please, Christoph? your inbox is not your work. Too many people that we work with live in their inbox, and they have reminders and flags, and when the reminder goes off, it's like 50 more reminders, and then you become a snooze manager and not an action manager. So your inbox is not your work. If you work from your inbox mostly, chances are that you see the same email today and tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, and that you need to think about that email more than once, and you're wasting time. So the trick is to make your work visible and actionable in whatever version you use of calendar and tasks. Now, when I use the phrase calendar, don't necessarily think that it's the Outlook calendar or Google calendar. When I say calendar, it's like your diary. And the task list, some of you may call it a to-do list. I've got a new word for a to-do list. If I see the words to-do list, I almost feel that I am now forced to do something. So I rather think of it as a choice list, a to-choose list. I don't have to do all the things on my to-do list. I can choose to do certain things. So let's get into the map for action. And at the end, I will give you a link that you can just send an email to, and I then will send you a PDF version of this. Now, it's a little bit too small to read, so we split it up into two, and it's just a series of questions about things coming your way. Down the left-hand side, you've got all inputs, and then you need to process them to clarify. Now, some of you who are familiar with the Getting Things Done methodology, I had the privilege of visiting David Allen and his team. So you'll see some Getting Things Done stuff in here. I also worked with Barbara Hemphill, so some thoughts of various people distilled in here. Okay, first question is, what is it? It's an email from Christoph. Is it relevant? Relevant to what? Relevant to my current priorities. There you can see immediately how important it is to have your priorities sorted out, the who you want to be, your personal mission statement. I cannot strongly enough recommend that you invest the time to develop your personal mission statement. So if it's not relevant, trash. What must I do with it? In the orange boxes, you see three options: file for later reference or review, action is required, or trash. Now the blue letters FAT spell the word fat. And I suggest that when you process your email or any other input, you do email triage. In other words, you look at an email and you say, email, where must you go to? Must I put you in the filing bucket? Must I put you in the action bucket? Or must I put you in the trash bucket? And this doesn't have to be electronically. You can have it in paper as well. So that's the high-level decision. You don't get sucked into an email. You don't start reading attachments and don't start replying to an email. First question is just, is this for filing or for action or for trash? I'm just going to have a look here at the timing that I have. It seems that we've got about another 8 minutes or so to go. Okay, on the next slide, if something is actionable, just follow the questions down. Will it take me more than one action to do this thing? If yes, arrow to the left, you manage it as a small project. David Allen defines a project as anything that will take you more than one action to complete. You need to figure out what the next step is. What's the next action? Let's say I've got to call Christoph about this email. Too many people stop thinking there, and then in the inbox they move away from the one email, and the one that they leave shows as read, and they go back, right-click, mark as unread. In the beginning, just force yourself to ask 4 more questions. Can I make this call quickly? A couple of minutes. If yes, just do it and get it out of the way. Next is an extremely important question, and I want you to write down the following phrase. And this is a note to yourself. I should only do what only I can do. If I address you, you should only do what only you can do. That's your unique contribution to your own life. That's a unique contribution that you have to your client's life. Anything that you can delegate, delegate it. If you don't, you're a thief. You steal your own time and you steal a growth opportunity from somebody else. So delegate when you can, and then of course follow up. Second last question, if this phone call to Christoph is not quick and I cannot delegate it, I need to check, do I want to make this call on a specific day? If yes, arrow to the left and down, make a note in your diary, make a note in your calendar. We all know that if I want to call Friday, go to Friday and put the note in Friday. If it will also take you long, the last question is, how long is it going to take? It's longer than half an hour. Even if it's not date specific, it becomes 8% of your day. So also make a note in your calendar, make it visible. Otherwise, you can sit with work in your inbox that will take you, 10 hours to do, but because you haven't made it visible in your diary or in your calendar, you don't know it. And then you get frustrated. And then you work late at night. And then you work in your email over weekends. So if you follow, just the simple structure of the map for action, at the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see your alignment. Your actions are now aligned with your priorities. I hope this makes sense to you. I'll give you a place where you can get this from me afterwards. Okay. So let's say you have an email. What you can do is in your inbox, next slide, you create folders. As you can see, I call them file later, action, read later, follow up, and CC mail. The little @ sign, by the way, is not critical. It's just a shorthand for action. So you create those folders, and then when you work through your email at the speed of white light, you make a quick decision, is this for filing, for action, or for trash? You just put it into the right folder. And there are a couple of ways in which you can do that. Email triage now. Those of you on Outlook, and there's not many, I think 27%. So let me not get into too much detail over here, but if you are using Outlook 2010 or later, and you're more than welcome to contact me afterwards by email, or even give me a phone call, and I'll take you through the steps very quickly. You can create a so-called quick step. Let me just show you how that works. In your ribbon, and again, this is just an illustration in Outlook. You can do this in whichever system you use. But if you stand on an email and you click on the file quick step, it takes it from the inbox and it puts it into the file later folder. And the same, one click and it goes to action, one click and it goes to read later. So, but you can easily drag and drop this if you don't have Outlook. If you use a paper-based system, create a folder called File Later, create a folder called At Action, and one called Read Later. And you can organize your things like that. Okay, let's move on. Then you go to your action, and I'm referring to emails, and you turn them into work. And again, just to reinforce that it doesn't have to be email, it can be a piece of paper as well. And as you can see on the next slide, if you want to have an email and you want to put it into your calendar, I know specifically in Outlook, if you use your right mouse button and you do a drag and drop to the calendar, and I think you can do it in most systems nowadays, take what you have and drag and drop it where you want it. So I want that email in my calendar. If you do that, as you can see on the next slide, a calendar item is automatically created. The subject is taken from the email, and the email is attached to this calendar item, which you can then schedule in your calendar. If you use a paper diary, obviously you can't drag and drop an email into your paper diary, but at least you can leave it where it is, and make a note appropriately in your paper diary. So that's how you can make your work visible in your calendar. Now you can also use a to-do list or tasks. Most of these apps have a tasks module or a to-do module, and the same thing. I take the email that I want to move to tasks, I drag and drop it, and just see what happens. A new task is created, and the content of the email is already in the task. Last one I want to share with you, if you have a bit of information, please call me as soon as you can, blah, 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 and you want to email that to somebody, it doesn't have to be from an email. You can sit on the internet and read something that you want to email to somebody. Just highlight what you have and drag and drop it to where you want it. In this case, in this system, drop it on an email. And as you can see, an email opens and a little bit of text is already there. So the map for action is really a powerful, simple, I think it's 11 questions that if you can master those 11 questions, you will have your work visible and actionable, as you can see on this slide. Just keep it there for a while, Christoph. I think you'll agree that there's a vast difference between looking at 35 emails or 100 emails and not being clear about what you have to do. But to slow down, speed up, one of our principles, and make your work visible in your calendar. And in this specific view, you can see the calendar, and on the right-hand side, you can see the task list, or the choice list, as I like to call it, organized by categories. But I'm not going to go into detail there, except to say that I do recommend that you organize your similar actions together. So think of it as little buckets. You have a bucket called phone calls, and all phone call reminders go into the phone call bucket. You have a little bucket for follow-up, etc. But I hope that you find this easy to do. It's not difficult. If you can read, you can do it. And if you want me to send you a copy of the map for action, I think it's on the next slide, Christoph. If you want to, oh, okay, no, there's still this idea that as you go from your inbox to making work visible, you take your mind from being like a whitewater river full of chaos into a calm lake and order where you can respond appropriately to inputs coming your way in a much different space. Okay. If you would like me to send you a copy of the map for action, it's a PDF. Just send me an email to the address you see on your screen at the moment, gerrit@789.co.za. Christoph asked earlier today, why 789? My company is called Productivity Pitstop, and you know, we just found it too difficult. If somebody on the phone asks me, what's your email address? And I say, Gerrit@productivity, oh, it stops. So 789 is easy. And in the subject line, just put a specific, just like that in the subject line. I'm going to set up a rule that will automatically send the map for action to you. And MFA is just an acronym for map for action. And EOM stands for end of message. So you don't have to write a long story in the body. I won't read it, not because I'm funny, but EOM tells me end of message. And you can start using this little acronym, especially for internal communications as well. So I hope that you have gained some value from our time together. I also hope that, you know, if you ask your copy of the map for action is something that you can use when you work with your clients and make their lives easier. This is really the thing for me. I love it when people say, this is going to make my life so much easier. So with the map for action, I'll also just include some details about our Outlook Productivity Workshop. For those who use Outlook, you may be interested in that. Christoph, that's all that I have in my little sermon today.
No, that's more than a sermon. It's a huge mouthful. Although I must say, when you speak about it, when you explain it, Gerrit, it really sounds simple and straightforward. But if you think about it and the implications of it, it can be huge.
You know, there's a saying that huge doors swing on small hinges. So small changes you make in the way you think about your work and in the way you organize your work can have a massive impact for you. So you're quite right. And these things are not difficult to do. It takes a little bit of discipline, yes, but as soon as you discover the what's in it for me, then you do it because there's a benefit for you.
Yes, I see Fred Jacobs put up his hand. Fred, if it is because you are volunteering for us to discuss your situation and how you can apply the map to your own situation, then keep your hand up. Otherwise, you can down your hand. Otherwise, if there's anyone else that wants to raise their hand, I see there Fred is removing his hand. If there's anyone else that would want to volunteer their situation, their specific way of aiming to be productive, we can bring you into the room, and what normally costs quite a few $1,000s of consultation fees or coaching fees, you can have for free today. So if there is someone that's brave enough, we can do that. Otherwise, we can turn to the chat, of course, and the questions that people have posed. But before we get there, just as a reminder, in terms of our own development, that there are also spaces that are being created for you as a business advisor to improve yourself so that you can have better impact with your clients. And at the Entrepreneurial Planning Institute, in fact, the reason why we do these webinars with IBASA is because our core focus is on offering practitioners in business support the ability to grow themselves, to increase their ability to have an impact with their clients through various ways. So it's learning new things like we are doing today, but it's also reflecting with others that are in similar situations than you, which we do through the peer circles. Now, we've learned a thing or two in the responses that we've been getting from people that go to this address, circle.the-epr.org, which you can go to and submit your interest, because it's quite a tricky thing to put half a dozen people with similar experiences together in a room so that they can get the most benefit from that. But as we get more names of people that are interested, it becomes possible for us to sift through that and create such circles where you can come together on a regular basis. It's facilitated and structured in a way that you can take real value from that. So I've been part of some of those groups, and it's really shifted much more than any certified course or training course that I've done. It's shifted my ability to work with clients significantly in learning from others that are in a similar situation, other business advisors. So I strongly recommend that. There is a cost involved. We are looking at ways of getting some of those costs sponsored, but yeah, so to invest in your growth is not a bad idea. So Gerrit, please stay with us. If I can bring Lesego and Karel in. If you guys have noticed some interesting stuff happening in the Q&A as well as in the chat that we can direct to Gerrit to help clarify the questions that people may have. Maybe Karel, if I can first come to you. So if you can unmute yourself, if you want to switch on your camera, that will help too.
Hi, morning everybody. Christoph, yes, only one question so far in Q&A from Tumelo, asking whether he can volunteer his PA. What it tells me to some extent is, Gerrit, you can comment, but this is firstly actually a tool one needs to learn for yourself. This is a habit and an approach first for yourself before you start to pass it on to your personnel. We often think it's the other people that we need to get more productive, but we need to be ourselves there. Gerrit?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's an important point that you make. And again, it takes a little bit of discipline, let's be honest about that, to form new habits of thinking and working differently. But you know, if you can do something, you can teach others. So rather than sending people on training courses, for example, if you can master the skill and then share it with others, it's beneficial. You spread the word, and of course, every time you teach one of your people, you reinforce it for yourself as well.
Okay, currently we don't have any other questions specifically. Josie said morning to me, but no question. Morning, Josie. And then most of the comments on the chat area at this stage is regarding the services CETA training. So I think we just want to reiterate again just about that link at the EPI. If we can maybe, Christoph, just show that on the screen again, that the people can go to indicate their interest in the services CETA training for assessors and moderators. Yeah, currently we don't have any other. Josie, if you have a specific question, can you post it here at the Q&A, please?
Yes, maybe just to reiterate that there's a button that you click to open the Q&A, and if you have specific questions around the map and applying the productivity system to yourself, you can post it there. So, Lesego, I'm not sure if you've noticed something interesting which Karel maybe haven't seen, but if I can if I can throw either of you, I'm not sure which one is going to respond to this, but any of you be prepared to maybe be a case study for us, have a chat to Gerrit about making your system more productive. So, Lesego, what about that? Or Karel, which one of you?
Yes, I'm more than willing if there's no worry, but I see the two new questions just came through. We want to address those. First, Yvette Schultz.
So can you just hold those two questions, Karel? So Lesego, yeah. Are you willing to do a little case study about talking about how you can make your system more productive? Your sound is off, so we can't hear you. You have to unmute.
Because I was laughing. Let's do it. Let's do that.
So let's first tackle those questions that you have, Karel, and then thank you very much, Lesego. It's sometimes brave to kind of like be willing to be vulnerable and about your own way of doing things. So thank you very much. It's much appreciated. But let's just address those questions before we go over to Lesego.
firstly, Yvette Schultz asked, you said we should create a quick step. Does this happen automatically as you get your emails each day?
Very depending on what system you use. I'm not. This is specifically in Microsoft Outlook that you can create quick steps. A quick step is different from a rule in any system. Rules run as emails come in automatically. So you can create a rule to do something with an email, but a quick step is a decision you make when you review an email and you say, okay, where do you want to post this this email to? Do you want it to come to filing, or action, for follow-up, for trash? So the quick steps don't run automatically. If you are using Microsoft Outlook Yvette, you're more than welcome to give me a call. Christoph, can I give my number?
Yes, please.
It's easy to remember. It's 082 perform. 082 perform. If you want the digital version, it's 082 737 3676. So if you want to discuss this, Yvette, or anybody else, more than welcome to give me a buzz. You can also call me on 021 465 2981.
Thanks, Gerrit. Josie is asking, I'm new in the industry. I need to join IBASA. I want to learn more about business advisory services. What do? I am enterprise development specialist, which is different from business advisory services, but with similarities. So this is not about this. We will we will answer Josie by text about joining IBASA. But you can go to ibasa.org.za, and all the information is there on the website also. Lesego, do you want to add something at this stage?
Thank you, Carol. Yes, Josie, we would definitely look forward to engaging with you about business advisory, especially because enterprise development is SMME space, and we do deal with that as well. So we'll drop you an email and call you as well, continue the discussion.
Keep coming to the webinars. We still have some very interesting topics coming up. By the way, we are I'm a bit taken aback by the response to the request we put out today, but perhaps the next we plan may elicit a better response, because it's a bit showing off in the tools that you find work well for you. So what we're going to ask is for a few business advisors to join us and to select one of the tools that they rave about, that they think is, and for them to come and tell us about those tools. So we talk a bit about toolbox that you have to use with your clients as a business advisor. So the next one, it will definitely address some of the questions that you may have in terms of what the tools are that you can use as a business advisor. So look out for emails and Facebook posts and so on, asking for participation. For you to also create a little video clip that's online, clients and so on. So for your own promotion too. Can we get back to the questions quickly, Carl, if there are any more?
No more questions, no new questions. So all answered. Either people understood exactly what Gerrit spoke about, or they're now totally confused. There's another one, but that's also about IBASA, so not about the topic. So I'll respond to that in text.
And I'll look out for an answer in the text on your question around IBASA membership too. So let me ask Gerrit, would you do a quick interview of Lesego around her productivity system and the way that she deals with her to choose list?
Why don't we do that?
Yes.
Sounds like fun.
5 minutes or so to do that. So it's unfortunately not a complete consultation, but it may be for us.
Lesego, I'm going to ask you to begin. What system do you currently use? And what is one thing that frustrates you at the moment in terms of using that system?
I use a combination of my Outlook and a to-do list that I put down on paper.
Okay.
My biggest challenge is that we use multiple shared emails as well as personal emails. And what I sometimes find is that depending on the activities that we have running, they clash in terms of being able to allocate the correct work schedule that is needed for the day. So we have shared emails whereby if somebody has a question, we're all able to answer at the office so that we don't have a bottleneck of emails going one direction. And then you have a personal email that I have that I also manage.
Okay. In terms of the shared email, I think that can create some problems. We've worked with somebody who also had shared emails, and the problem I'm referring to, and I don't hear it in your case, is that who's responsible?
Okay.
If I understand correctly, what you mean by a shared email. In other words, an email comes into whoever at IBASA, and then it comes into to more than one person, and then who does something with it. Is that what you mean by shared email?
Yes. So our platform is we have shared emails for continuous professional development, simply because you don't want to have a situation whereby if a person is not in the office, be it for a roadshow or anything, that they don't get a response, at least within 24 hours. And what we've then decided was that, okay, since that is the priority and email is the primary form of communication, we've identified 4 that we can share. And then the primary ones is to be able to respond to members. So what we then do is that the latest business office package for Office 365 allows you to see if another person has communicated on that shared platform. So I'm just sharing with members that if you would like a shared folder, use the Office 365 business package, because it allows you to see if there's a prior conversation. Before we moved on to the business office package that we currently have, we did have that problem of multiple emails perhaps going back and forth sometimes, which is a time waster. So for IBASA, we did find something that could at least help us with that. So that's what I'm also sharing. On personal emails, where my interest with you, Gerrit, is when you have 4 competing stakeholders who you need to answer on email, what do you do in terms of prioritizing that? Because it's not like they're less important, and that's not how you'd want to put it, but you've got to answer these emails, and the deadline, you have to forego one deadline. It's not going to work, pretty much. How would you manage that environment?
With difficulty.
Yes.
That's an escape answer. I think with one question that comes up over and over and over again is, in general, how do I prioritize my work? How do I choose what to do first? And there's no silver bullet answer. But what works for me is consider the various things and consider the impact, the longer term impact. So if I'm understanding your question correctly, I've got these 4 emails. Which one do I answer first? And if you think about the long-term impact of either answering or not answering that specific email, you can give it a ranking out of 1 to 100 or 1 to 10 or whatever. And then you deal with the one that will have the biggest either negative or positive impact first, and then the other one, and then the other one. I don't think there's an ideal prioritizing system. It's a gut feel thing, I think. Great. Because you can say a priority A, B, C, D, E, but then the phone rings and then everything changes. So it really is from a moment to a moment gut feel decision.
I agree. Thank you. Team, Christoph, I guess you've moved to my number 3 out of 10 list on emails.
No, I'll send less. I'll be the filter first. So maybe that's a question I can ask Gerrit. Is how me as a sender of an email can help people I work with to be more productive in the way that they deal with emails. Because I'm perhaps one of the parties that sin in sending the SQL email too quickly.
Yeah, no, don't do that. Never respond in anger is one of the other rules, eh? So, Christoph, your question is, how can you, as a sender of an email, help other people be more productive in dealing with emails?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah. Do you have an email etiquette in your organization that everybody plays email by the same rules?
No.
Okay. What I can do is I've got a document. It's not, my bright thinking. It's just stuff that I put together. It's about email etiquette and how you deal with email. So if you want that, and this is an invitation to you and to anybody on the call, send me an email, gerrit@789.co.za, and in the subject line you can just put email etiquette and EOM, and I'll make sure that I send that off to you. So that's one thing. People, and it's about managing expectations, I think. I don't know if you sometimes have the situation that you receive an email, you maybe not at your desk, and a few minutes later the phone rings and the sender asks you, why haven't you responded to my email yet? I mean, that's really counterproductive. I get a feeling inside me that I'm not responding 100% to your question, but teach people, how can I put it? What you allow will remain. In other words, if you allow people to take too long to respond, they will continue taking too long to respond. If you allow people to write too many words, that's what will continue. But make emails short, make them to the point, and yeah, don't waste time writing.
That's a kind of a pet hate of myself, is don't CC everyone that you want to cover, by wasting their time then. So we are fast running out of time today, unfortunately. So, this is, of course, is a simple, straightforward, but it can take us more than an hour to discuss and find best ways of implement. So, by the way, I know that Gerrit does workshops for people so if you get onto his list in some way or the other, I think, Gerrit, are we getting onto the list if we ask for the map to be sent to?
Well, I don't automatically put you on a list that I send stuff out to, but every Monday morning I send out a short little productivity memo, a Monday memo. If people specifically, when I return to the map, when I send the map for actions, I will just also add a document about the workshop. So we typically run these public workshops in Cape Town, Joburg, Durban, and Bloemfontein. So if there's anybody that's interested in that, specifically they are for Outlook users. And then we also work. Most of our work is with companies, and not only the huge corporates, even small companies. And we go in-house and we do a little workshop with technology or without technology.
Good.
Christoph, I know we're out of time.
Yeah, so we've got two questions that I can come to right now. I just want to, before we get to those two questions, ask those that may want to run off as the hour strikes, to give us some feedback on how useful you found the webinar today. We will come to those two questions just now. But in the meantime, was it a waste of time? Was it marginal? Kind of break even? Was it good? Was it excellent? So as you are voting there, we can see that good kind of at 43%, excellent at 41%. Thought it was a waste of time. 2 thought it was marginal. And by most in the excellent and good category, which is good to know. It would be interesting, perhaps, if that thinks it's marginal or waste of time could give us some pointers. Maybe you can post an question or chat. You can do that, by the way, by just ticking that box. I think we could have done better to address your needs. So thank you very much for giving us that feedback. So Carl, if I can come back to you.
Okay, 2 questions. I think Luther's question links on to the previous discussion. If you receive an email, how soon do you reply and or acknowledge receipt with an indication when a response will be made? So I think it links to the email rules or etiquette, but I don't know Gerrit, do you want to maybe just respond on?
Give us the second question, then Gerrit can deal with both of them.
The second one was Daphne asking whether they could use some of these ideas with their clients. You know, would they be allowed to help them using what they shared today, or would it be assumed copyrighted?
Okay, great. So, Gerrit, you've got those two questions.
Yeah. As far as you're welcome to use what I shared with you today. So, you know, there's no, the map for action itself, I think I don't even have a copyright sign on that. I think I should know that you mentioned it. But, you know, we discussed some principles, and you're more than welcome to share them. Luther, your question, I'm going to give a strange kind of response to that. How soon do you reply or acknowledge receipt? It's almost as if one is then in a reactive mode about your emails. And what I suggest is that, if at all possible, you know, you treat your email inbox like a post box at the post office. You go there once a day, and or twice a day, or 3 times a day. You choose, and then you work through your emails and respond. If you really want to acknowledge a receipt, put on a rule in your Outlook or in whatever system you use that says, you know, if I'm out of office, or just if I receive an email, just send this reply that I've received it, and I will probably respond to you by this afternoon, 5 o'clock. So just a tip on this, and then I'll close. One of our clients in Joburg changed their email signature, and she did a lot of training. So her email signature now reads, please note that I process my emails twice a day, before 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. If you cannot wait for me to respond at these times, here's my number, give me a call. But before you call, make sure it's both urgent and important. So that's also just another way in which you can manage expectations.
Great stuff. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Christoph.
While you speak, and you just, so for us to wrap up this webinar, by the way, I found it a really interesting one. And from the feedback from people, it looks like most did so too. Carl and Lesego, I'll come to you too as well, and Gerrit at the end. If you have any closing remarks about our webinar today or any other issues. Carl?
Yeah, thank you. I agree. I found it useful. I've got a lot of questions that we will have to do a one-on-one or something. I think it was very useful, and then again we received a lot of feedback regarding membership for IBASA and interest in the services ETA training. So all around, I think it was very useful interaction. Thanks.
And thanks for your help, Carl. Lesego.
Hi, I am excited. I believe this webinar has given great value. If you would like to watch more webinars that we had in the past, on our website, we have the videos of the previous webinars if you'd like to go back and watch. But most importantly, keep joining us for other webinars. Our main purpose is for business advisors to begin to speak about improving this profession that we're all in. So thank you for joining us, and I'm excited for the next topic, and I'm ready to go become more productive. Over to you, Chris.
Yeah, thanks, Lesego. And Gerrit, if you perhaps have a last comment to make.
Yeah, last comment is I just want to refer to that quote again about having, you know, living a happy and productive life. First, decide who you want to be, and then do what you have to do.
Yeah, great. So, I mean, that's one of the 3 things that I took from what you said today. You also said that it's doing more of the right things, not to be, but to be doing the right things. And most importantly, I should only do what I can do.
Yeah, what only you can do. You should only do what only you can do. Delegate or outsource the rest.
Great stuff. Thank you very much for spending the hour with us, Gerrit. It was
Only a pleasure.
Hope we can add more value as we go along to IBASA members and others. So those that are about to sign up, please do so urgently. There is the conference coming up in November, which is a real international conference, which is turning into a really important event. So if you can plan about attending the international conference on business advising, that would also be great. So see you next time. I think it's on the 9th of November, our next webinar. We will be promoting it. Or you can, in fact, on the registration page for today already register for the November webinar. So if you go to webinar.the-epi.org, you can already register for the next webinar on the 9th of November. But otherwise, look out for the emails and promotions. So have a productive day, everyone.